This is your girl, Rosita, aka Miss Sip with Sip on Radio and Living Your Dreams with Rosita reality show. I am here with Miss Tina. I would like for you to give them an introduction of yourself and give them a little bit, just a little bit about yourself.
Okay, well, my name is Miss Tina E. I am an actress, a model, and also a radio personality with Power 91.1 WTYJ.com. We have a radio show called Unfiltered Adult Talk After Dark. I'm also the founder of Preserved Innocence, which is a youth foundation that is geared towards supporting our adolescent parents, both male and female. I'm a friend of Miss Rosita. Yes. I met her through acting, and I am completely honored that you would even have me here today.
I'm honored for you to be here.
So I know she has a lot of questions for me, and
yes.
I'm eager to share some things with you guys. So hopefully you guys will get something out of this today.
Yes, trust me, they will. They will. They will. So where was you born and raised?
Okay, well, my mother is from South Florida, on the West Coast. So, what's up, everybody in Harlem Heights? So we're from Fort Myers there. My father is from Houston. Okay. I was born actually in Fort Myers, but my mom has this thing. She come home when she has her babies. Her moms take care of her. Then 6 weeks, y'all know the old school people. 6 weeks, you don't get to do anything.
Exactly.
Right. So her 6 weeks up, she always came back home to Houston. So I was raised the earlier part of my life in Houston. And then we actually moved, when my parents separated, we moved to Fort Myers. And I was around 10, 11 at that time. And I lived in Fort Myers up until 2014. And now I'm here in Atlanta.
Okay. So, your story that you want to share with everyone, I want to ask you, what makes you want to share your story?
I spent a lot of my life asking myself or asking God, why me? Why do I have to go through this? I'm a good person. I try to treat everybody right. Why do I have to go through this? And just through prayer and ministry and people ministering to me, I come to realize that we go through things so that we can bless someone else.
Yes.
And so I feel like I'm being disobedient if I don't share my story. And if I don't reach back out and maybe prevent someone from going through it or help someone who is currently in the situation.
Okay. And basically that's one of my questions that I was going to ask you. Do you feel that everything happens for a reason? And like you said, why you? You know, so I was going to ask that question that, so basically you already answered that.
Right. There's purpose in every single thing that happens. And I know they say, I'm going to say they say, because I just recently learned that this is not actually quoted in the Bible, but God will never put more on you than you can bear. So I just have to believe that when I was going through this, he knew that I could handle it.
Yeah.
He knew that I would get through it. So to answer your question, yes, there's purpose in everything.
And they say a lot of times that you can understand what others are going through. You can look a person in their eyes and say, I know exactly how you feel when you have actually went through it.
Right. And people are more submissive. They receive you better if they know that you are coming from a genuine place and you actually do understand because you've experienced it yourself.
Exactly.
You can't tell me. It's going to be hard for you to relate to me if you've never been there.
Exactly.
Because now you're just going off of some textbook stuff that you read or something that you heard from someone else or something that you saw on TV.
Yes.
So you can't really say, yeah, I know what it is. You know, there are things that you've gone through in your life that I've never experienced, you know, but there is someone out there who has.
Exactly.
So
we're going to tell y'all what we're talking about, because I know y'all
like,
are, you know, like, oh my God, what are they talking about? So, do you want to tell them
you know, because I have a hard time kind of breaking it down and putting it to a little small package.
I would say Miss Tina E went through an experience when she was younger. She was molested by her mother's boyfriend, and you know, basically she's been living with this all her life, and now she wants to tell the story, and she wants to get everything out in the open, because it's basically like going to take weight off of her, weight off of her chest, weight off of her heart, weight off of her mind, soul, you know, everything. So, and she wanted to share it on my show, Living Your Dreams with Rosita, and I am honored to have you here, you know, to share this, because since I did that promo video of what was coming up, is 3 other women have reached out to me, to Living Your Dreams with Rosita, and you know, it's one of them that is scared. She was like, I want to tell it, but I don't want folks to know that it's real, you know. So you have like inspired other women. You have inspired other women to tell their story, and you know, I think that is very brave of you.
I wanna just jump in and just touch on that, because that's something that I struggle with as well, as far as trying to figure out what people are going to think once I say this. And me, you had a conversation earlier today where I met this gentleman that I was going to, you know, we were thinking about getting involved with each other, and me knowing what my calling is, and me knowing that these things are going to come public, I need to know that the person that I'm with can handle these things. Yes. And so in doing so, I you know, I told him parts of my life that many people don't know.
Well, hold it. I know what you're going to get to, but that's one of the questions.
Here's my thing. People, their hang-ups about your life is their problem, not yours. That's the way I view it. You know, you own what you do, and you live with that, and you keep going. You can't spend your entire life beating yourself up about what you should have did, could have did. That's done. You can't go back and change your past. So, but if they can't deal with it, it's not for you to fix.
Exactly.
That's up for them to figure out.
Exactly. Okay, so at what age did he start, you know, what was the first thing that he did to you, and at what age?
Okay, so what happened was, when we moved here, my mother moved to this project, and in this particular project community, there were duplexes where you had 2 units connected. And the unit that we were connected to was the neighborhood store, where everybody came in, they bought their ice cups and their pickled pig feet and, you know, all that stuff. Yeah. So one day, as I had done so many times in the past, I went next door to buy something. And well, my neighbor, she had a grandson. He was 18 years old, and I was 11 at the time. But he used to always flirt with me, and I thought it was cute. I was like, oh, an older guy, he thinks I'm cute. He always flirting. And, you know, I thought it was cute. You know, that's what young girls do. So this particular day, I went next door. I knocked on the door. He was like, you know, come on in, which is no big deal. I stepped in the back door, and he was like, you know, come inside. And so I came in, and when I entered into like the living room area of it, he snatched me in and he raped me. Okay. The whole thing had to have lasted about if I don't even know, it was quick with him. But from that ordeal, I could tell he was high. But anyway, from that ordeal, I left there. I ran home. I called my mom at work. Say, Mom, this happened. She called her boyfriend at the time. Mm-hmm. He came. Their parents. It was a big to-do. But anyway, so the very next day came, and my mother's boyfriend at the time, he approached me. And he said, he was really apologetic and really kind of, I'm sorry this happened to you, and really kind of concerned. And he told me that, he says, but you're pregnant. And I'm 11 years old. He's like, you're pregnant. And he says, but I don't want you to worry. I've bought this stuff that's going to fix it. He says, but it's very, very expensive, and I only could afford one, and it has to be administered properly. And it took me a minute to catch on to what he was saying. Mm-hmm. So what he was saying is that it had to be inserted into me vaginally. Mm-hmm. And mind you, this is not someone who just popped into our life yesterday. This is someone who had been around for a while. He took us on trips. So
basically, your mother trusted him to be
right.
Around
he was like
you,
he was like the dad that we didn't have. Right.
Okay. So where was your dad at that time? Where was your dad?
My dad had a really hard time coping with my mother leaving him, and in that he separated himself from us,
from everybody.
Right. So what he was doing at that particular time, I don't know.
So have you talked to him about the situation? What happened to you? And
I didn't reconnect with my dad till I was around 24.
And did you tell him?
Yes, I did tell him.
What was his response to that?
He was devastated. He was devastated, and he was very angry with my mother. And I had to stop and pause him. I was like, hold up, you can't, you left us. You know what I'm saying? So you can't be upset with her for what happened in your absence. Because I believe...
Yeah, because he could have been there to protect you.
I believe as a little girl, had he been there, it would have never happened. So, he really wanted to go in and attack her. I'm like, if you want to blame somebody, you can...
So did he try to attack the guy?
Well, my dad wasn't here. And by the time he found out about it, my mother and the guy was separated. He did try to attempt to file charges. Mm-hmm. But we were told that the statute of limitation had ran out, so we couldn't file charges. From what was explained to me is...
And that was here in Georgia?
No, that was actually in Florida.
Okay.
That's in Florida. It was explained to me that you have like a year or so after you turn 21 in order to report it. And then after that...
Then basically you're on your own.
It's done. Right.
Okay. So you finished telling the story about. So he said that he had to insert something into you in order for you to have an abortion.
Well, abortion wasn't the word,
not abortion,
but just to prevent me from being a pregnancy from what happened to me the day prior from my neighbor.
So it kind of it is kind of a home abortion,
right.
What they used to do back in the day.
Right. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And so, it was one of those, he took me in the room and, without getting super graphic, mm-hmm. but, he took me in the room and, I reluctantly allowed him to administer this quote unquote medicine as I thought it was. Mm-hmm. And in that process, I remember just laying flat on the bed and there was, this thing hanging from the ceiling. Mm-hmm. And I just froze and just fixated on that. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And then I felt his hands down there, and then I felt him trying to penetrate me. And I froze. I didn't outside of the noises from it being uncomfortable, I just froze.
So at that time, you knew it was him and not what he was trying to
insert in you. I realized that things had changed.
So, okay, how was that? Was you like at the edge of the bed to
like,
where
think of it like
he can be up? Because like you would know if he's laying on you.
No, he wasn't laying on me. It was one of those things where I kind of sat on the edge of the bed and leaned back, and he was on the floor, like down in front of me, like in between my legs.
Yeah.
So, and then I felt the thing that they do, and at that point it was just like, okay, what do I do? And I did nothing. Mm-hmm. And I think that's one of the things that I struggled with throughout the years. Mm-hmm. That's like one of the biggest things, because I always ask myself, because I watch TV and you read books and you hear people say how devastating it was and how they reacted and how they had to fight someone off and all of this stuff. And I didn't do that. And because my reaction to it wasn't what I thought it should be or what I've seen on TV, I used to always like, why didn't I do more? Why didn't I fight?
Basically, because he tricked you. You was a child. So he tricked you into trusting him to be relaxed enough to have your clothes off.
Not only...
And, in that position to where he was able to do what he wanted to do to take advantage of you. So you was in a trusting mode, and I understand that.
And I think part of it was also because he wasn't someone new to me. Mm-hmm. He was someone close to the family. Like I didn't in my child mind, I don't want to get him in trouble.
Yeah, you didn't want to break up the family,
right? I don't want my...
Hi, and we are back with Living Your Dreams with Rosita, and I have Miss Tina E here that have been telling her story about what happened to her as a young lady. She was molested by her mother's boyfriend, and basically right now I want to ask you, how have that affected you as a grown-up, in your relationships and stuff?
Okay. Just in case you didn't catch that in the first part, I do have a child from him now. Yes. So in my relationships, being that I have a child, I've held a very tight grasp on my children, very protective. And it's very hard for men to relate to why I'm so protective and things with my children, not just my daughter, but just both of my children. Also, I just don't trust men. It's hard to say. I just don't trust them. In my relationships, I think because I was introduced to sex so early, I've been very promiscuous throughout my lifetime, and I know that's because of how I was introduced to sex. I was introduced first by being raped, and then basically the very next day I started being molested just about every day up until I was, 16 years old. Because even after I made it public, he was still coming in my room to the point that I had to literally just leave my mother's house. So it's really skewed how I view sex. It's skewed.
So you don't really enjoy it. You go through the motions.
No, and that's another thing. Like,
because I heard a lot of women that was like molested or raped. They say it's like it took away from.
And that's another thing. That's what I struggle with, because I feel like I'm supposed to be feeling this certain type of way, but no, I'm a very, very high nature person, and there's a lot of times, even still today, I think about when I'm having sex, I feel bad because, and I think, damn, mostly everything that I knew about sex, I learned from him. And I hate that.
So let me ask you this. Do you think that you developed feelings for him?
I don't know if I developed feelings for him as far as a relationship type feeling, but I will say this. At some point, it stopped being devastating. Mm-hmm. It stopped being...
And it started being like...
It became normal. Routine. This was my norm. And that's what I say. It's a lot of mixed feelings. It was. Mm-hmm. I was ashamed of it because, you know, that's my mother's boyfriend. He's an old man in my eyes at the time. I didn't want anybody to know that, and then I was guilty. I felt like I was hurting my mom and doing something to my mother. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And then on top of that, he did stuff for me. Like, I know, like, my hair was done all the time. Mm-hmm. You know, I used to drive, I don't know if you remember the Chevy Berettas. With the GT
so
Berettas. I had a car. I was driving a car in middle school. So, I always had money in my pocket.
So, like I said, you was his girlfriend, mm-hmm. and basically your mother was just there.
And I didn't.
He used your mother as a excuse to be there, mm-hmm. but he was actually with you.
I mean, that's the way you could look at it.
Yeah.
I mean, if I had to rationalize it in his mind, that's probably what he was saying.
Because that's why he was nonchalant, because he was like, oh, well, you know, like, and...
I never did understand that. Why are you so freely show up to the hospital and sign the birth certificate?
Because he felt like
why did you so freely go down to...
woman. Like,
he went straight down to the child support office and just sat there and signed the papers, no questions asked. I guess for me, I thought that he was doing it because he didn't want to go to jail. It was easier just to go along with it than it was to fight it. Because if he starts fighting it, then maybe someone will start filing charges. Maybe, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But after many years later, where we were going to court on child support and things like that, I saw him, and I used to panic when I saw him.
So let me ask you this right here. You said that when you having sex with someone and you feel guilty because you think of, you know, basically he crossed your mind. Do you feel guilty because it's kind of like because you cheating on him? Or
no, I feel it's not guilty. I guess I wanted to have a normal sexual relationship. I wanted to develop normally, where I had a boyfriend, we had sex, and we, you know, but when I think about it and I'm doing things, and there'll be times when I think, I learned this from, or when someone gives me a compliment mm-hmm. about, you know, like guys do, I'm thinking, damn, I learned that from him. I hate that. You know what I'm saying? And that kind of makes me feel some sort of way. And
so let me ask you this right here. At what age did you tell your child that was her father, or did she grow up already knowing?
No, she didn't. I had a second child, and I got married early. I had a second child, and he started saying things to her like, well, why you don't have a daddy? Mm-hmm. Where's your daddy? So she was around 11 when I told her. I sat her down and kind of explained. I kind of gave her a very broad spectrum.
So was he around at the time?
No, that he has never been around.
So she never knew him.
Mm-mm. She has.
So did you explain to her that was your mother's boyfriend?
Mm-hmm. After I explained to her, I gave her an idea of what it was, but as she got older, it was one of those things, just give her a little bit at a time, just to help her understand what it is, because now she's also becoming a woman herself, mm-hmm. and I need her to understand some things, you know what I'm saying?
So how do your family and kids feel? Well, how do your daughter feel about you coming on the show to, tell this story?
They're very supportive. I mean, my family, I haven't spoken to a lot of my family about it, but knowing that I was coming on the show, I spoke to my daughter and my son and told them that I was coming. But I also called just this morning. I called my mother to tell her that I was going to be on the show and that there's probably going to be some things talked about that she's never heard, that she's never knew, that I just wanted her to know. And that really sprouted a conversation between me and her, because we only had one conversation about this. And that was probably about 6 years ago, and we never talked about it.
So do you feel that your mother should have got punished as well for not protecting you?
No, I don't. I think that my mother was going through some things. She has her own, until this day, she has her own demons. Yeah. I know that there are things that she dealt with as a child herself, and I think it played a big part in how she handled the situation. Okay. And I mean, as parents, we always want to do the best for our children, and we want to react certain ways, but it just doesn't always happen that way. Yes. And even this morning when I spoke to her, it's okay. She told me, she says, I always believed you. And I told her, I never thought that you believed me when I told you this. She says, I've always believed you. She says, I'm so sorry. She says, but at the time I was paralyzed in the situation. She said, no matter how much I tried to leave him or get away from him, even after I found out, she's like, I don't know. She said, I was paralyzed in it. And I can understand that, because up until recently, I was that same person. I remained that little girl who was paralyzed in that bed when he first violated me. And I stayed that little girl up until about 2014, 2015, where I had to leave Fort Myers and come to Atlanta. And it took a lot of prayer, through my first lady and things, a lot of talking to me to even get to the point where I am now. So now that I'm older, I can understand to an extent where she felt, where she was. And everybody could say, well, she should have did this, if I was her, if I was this, but you don't know. Yeah. You don't know people's circumstances. You don't know people's background. You don't know what they've been through to say what they should have done or what they were even mentally capable of doing. Mm-hmm. So it's a saying that hurt people hurt people. Yes.
So how do you feel about that saying as far as your situation? You wouldn't want no one to feel as though just because you was molested to feel like you would be a molester.
Right.
So
hurt people do hurt people. And what I say to that is, you as a person, you have to be responsible for yourself. Mm-hmm. You have to take the initiative to transition yourself from a victim to a survivor. Mm-hmm. And no one can do that for you. And so me being here talking to you, or even I didn't talk to anyone about it, but this is my therapy. This is, I'm hoping to bless someone else, but I'm also helping myself in the process. Mm-hmm. So hurt is, people will say, well, you have to forgive a person, and otherwise, I can honestly say I have not forgiven him. Yeah. I haven't. I don't know if I ever will. I'm not angry anymore like I used to be, but I can honestly say I haven't forgiven him. If I was to see him, I don't know how that would go.
And I want you to look into that camera right now, and Imagine that is him. What would you say to him right now? If he walked in this room right today, what would you say to him?
Gosh, I don't even know what I would say to him. I would tell him that, in spite of what you did, I'm okay. That I still turned out good. And I mean, there's a lot more to the story and some of the things that I found out by him, and I'll tell him, you don't have any power over me or anyone else that you've violated over the years.
So what would your little girl in you tell him that you wanted to tell him, but you have the opportunity to tell him now?
The little girl in me.
He hurt you, right?
The little girl in me would tell him that yeah, you hurt me, and that I don't love you. I think I'm past the hate now, but the little girl in me hated him for what he was doing. And again, I say, I'm still dealing with it myself. You know what I'm saying? I'm much better than I was, but confronting him, what would I say? Because he's confronted me before. He confronted me, and like I was going to tell you, he confronted me outside of the courthouse one day, and I'm trying to get away from him. He's running me down. He's like, I understand what I did was wrong, but I really did love you. I just told him this to get the hell away from me. And I went and I sat in my car and I just bawled and cried, like, what the hell? What is wrong with him?
So what did you want to be when you was a little girl? When you was a little bitty girl, everybody said, oh, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a nurse. What did you want to be when you was a little girl?
I wanted to be strawberry shortcake. I think.
Well, you was red.
Strawberry shortcake. And I wanted to be Cinderella. I love not the cleaning the floor Cinderella. Yeah. I wanted to be the Princess Cinderella. I dreamed of being a princess. And I think,
you are a princess.
Yeah. I remember I used to take I always wanted to be a princess, even now. Yeah. Like, I want to go put on this big poofy dress and carry this thing and
we're going to make that happen. Seriously.
For real?
We're going to make that happen on Living Your Dreams of Rosita. We're going to make you up as a princess.
Oh. Can I get take pictures?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're going to do your photo shoot. You're going to be a princess.
Oh.
Because you are a princess, so that day you're going to get treated like a princess.
Oh, that would be so sweet.
Okay, so what are you doing now? I know you was telling them at the beginning of the show that,
I am living my life and being blissfully happy. Mm-hmm. I'm pursuing my acting full time. I'm moving into modeling. I'm doing radio. I'm doing all of the things that were completely the opposite of who I was a few years ago. I'm stepping out into the world, and I'm finally living. I'm not just alive. I am actually finally living, giving myself a voice. And I just, more than anything else in the world, I want to help someone else get their voice.
Exactly. And we're going to do a panel as well. And I done talked to some of the other women.
We are definitely doing a panel.
Exactly.
Yes.
So I just want to take this closing to just say that it is not your fault. You was a baby. You should have been protected. So don't go through your life feeling as though it's your fault. It's not your fault.
I thank you. It took me a really long time to get that But I thank you, and it's not. And for anyone who's going through it out there, it's not your fault. And to any woman who has went through and lived through it, the best thing that you could do for your children, for the women and the men or the people around you in your family is speak about it.
Speak up.
The chain can't be broken if no one knows the chain exists.
Women, pay attention to your daughters. Fathers, pay attention to your daughters and sons. Y'all pay attention. When a child comes to you, listen. Watch. Signs is always there.
Yes.
People want to cleanse. It's okay to love someone, child. You have been tuning in to Living Your Dreams with Rosita. And I am Rosita, aka Miss Sip with Sip on Radio, Living Your Dreams with Rosita. And this is my guest here, Miss Tina E. I hope y'all enjoyed the show. Peace, love, peace and blessings.